When I woke up this morning, I heard a disturbing sound.
So now let's talk about another type of sound, church sound. We got a call recently from a church who's got a relatively expensive sound system that someone put in, pretty expensive. And they're getting what they consider very poor results, and they wanted us to come in and evaluate it. And of course they asked the usual, which is, could you just stop by and listen to it in a service? And I said, no, because that really doesn't answer the questions. I said, we'll look at the system, we'll look at a service, we'll look at your online streaming, we'll take that into account, but what we really need to do is decide, is this system set up right? Is it tuned right? And from an empirical standpoint, is it intelligible and can it work? So some of the variables in the church world, besides the fact that a lot of the volunteers who run sound are well-meaning people who aren't trained, the bigger problems are the live things.
This is great.
Live drums on stage, live organ with a Leslie on stage, live choir on stage, guitar player with an amplifier on stage, worse yet, bass player with an amplifier on stage, or all of the above. And then the sound system is trying to navigate on top of all of this. And then depending on the style of worship, which can be everything from liturgical worship to what I will call almost punk rock in church, you've got an incredible amount of room sound. And then you've got stage monitors if people aren't using in-ear monitors, et cetera, et cetera. Et cetera, et cetera. So once again, this place spent a pile of money on a sound system. They're getting mediocre results, echoes, unintelligible areas in the building where you sit down and they say people can't understand even the lyrics to the songs.
I said, seagulls, stop it now.
When the pastor preaches, there's problems with feedback, there's problems with all sorts of things. So another situation where the system may or may not have been a good design. We don't have any other modeling, so we don't really know. We just looked at photos of the place and said, look, this is a too complicated a system. It's got, I don't know, 28 loudspeaker clusters in it, something like that. It's a pretty big building. We have to come in and measure it. So what we'll be doing is we'll be doing impulse measuring. We'll be doing RAST, I'll call it RAST-EPA instead of spelling it out. We're going to do C50 definition. We're going to do a bunch of different metrics, frequency response throughout the room. And then once we know what that says, and we'll know whether the room is reasonably well covered and intelligible with that as a source, then we've got to look at what's going on stage. And then the next thing we look at is their sound persons mixing from a booth that's not in the room. So let's talk about another problem, which is, where am I mixing from? It happens in a lot of buildings. I hear from some people that they think it's very successful. I hear from others that say it's not successful. And I have a client right now who absolutely wants to put their sound guy in a booth on the second floor above a balcony with a little tiny window. I mean, it's like this big a window that they're going to get to see and hear through, which is bad enough in and of itself. Well, let's add to that. Let's say there's a giant mechanical system sitting right above the booth, making it about 65 dBA in the booth of background noise. Then let's flank that with 2 spotlights through 2 other holes in the booth, firing into the room that have fans in them. Now, people who use the room complain about the mechanical noise all the time. They even complain about the sound of the spotlights coming out of the booth. So now you're going to take your sound operator and put them in the midst of all of that and wonder why you get bad results. And the answer I got from this particular administration at this school district was, well, we've seen it in other schools, so I don't know why it wouldn't work. Well, maybe in the other schools they didn't have all those problems. We've done some sound booths in some schools with 14-foot wide, 6-foot tall windows, in rooms with acoustically treated booths, a pair of local monitors tuned precisely to mimic what's going on out in the room, and there's no spotlights by the heads of the sound operator. So it's a case of, it can work. In this case, it won't work if they do that, but the people in charge don't understand this stuff, which is why they need to actually get educated about all the factors of producing a quality sound in that environment.